how it moves. It's just gripped all our minds. We all need a relief, and seems Arjuna needed the same relief, and that is why he approached Krishna. He was also like, so many dilemmas were there, like octopus, clinging to his mind, and then he went straight to Krishna. And Bhagavad Gita elaborates on the whole concept of peace, explicating that we have within us the peacemakers as well as the peace breakers. No one has to disturb our peace. We disturb it ourselves. We are very competent. We may not be so competent in bringing peace, but very competent in breaking peace. And that's what is there in Bhagavad Gita. If you read verse by verse many a times, through various verses, the text draws our attention to the fact that people with closed minds, people with wrong value system, people who get swayed by illusions, those with focus on attention and progress, and most importantly, those who do not believe in the oneness of all beings. It is this that is the philosophy of separatedness that is the root cause of the problem in the society. And that comes out from Bhagavad Gita. Today's problems are also because we are not connected with each other. I think you to be different, you think me to be different. I don't know why we even keep the podiums. It creates too much of distance between the audience and the hearers, and the audience and the speaker. But we have all these kinds of obstructions in life to create divide. We have to seek appointment to meet our principle. And I always feel, why do we have to seek appointment? Why? Because we are online now. So we write a mail. That's not online has become another obstruction to meet human beings now. So I have to write a mail. She will see. She will respond. Then I will say I am not available. She will say I am not available. And then for 10 days we don't get to meet her because we are not through with these obstructions, the divides that we have created between her and I. We need to break this, and this is what Bhagavad Gita talks about in its own structural, philosophical way. Krishna emphasizes on Karma Yogin, and Loka Sangraha, projecting them as interlinked. Karma Yoga is the right technique of performing actions, and that's called Nishkama Karma Yoga, which stands for the technique of performing the socially useful actions without the desire of selfish gains. Now, what are these socially useful actions? And why should I indulge in socially useful actions? For me, my food matters, my car matters, my job matters. Why should I be concerned about it? And why should even I come to a medical college out of foreign? That's where we need to understand that we have some social responsibility. Whatever we are earning and whatever we have learned, it's important that we go out and share with a lot of people. That's my social responsibility. What is your social responsibility? Do you have a social responsibility? Your social responsibility is all about ensuring that while you're driving, you don't hit the other person. Simple as that. While you're walking, you don't push somebody else. That's your social responsibility. As small as possible, but very, very strong. So how does the welfare of all come into being? How does the Loka Sangraha come into being? How can the well-being of yours be there in the institute? Only and only when we all take care of each other. And that's what happened even with me last night when I was given so much of care. You know, you come from so far, we are there with you. Made me feel it did not take even 2 minutes to strike a conversation. Because the concept of Loka Sangraha is very strong here in your state. It's missing, friends. It's missing at a lot of places. So Bhagavad Gita argues that in the interest of universal welfare, the feeling of equality must be supplemented with sympathy. Since every human being has the same Atman of self, they are essentially equal. But along with the feeling of equality, the peace promoter, that is you and I, also need to have sympathy. That is, we feel happy when others are happy, and we feel the sadness when others are sad. The other virtues that go alongside are non-violence, sharing the use of sweet and helpful words. And that's what I was telling your principal, sir, that communication is so important in today's world. The way we communicate with people is what connects us with people. Sometimes just a line can help us heal. You're very distressed, you write a text to friends, to you or do you not? Some of you might be writing right now that, oh my God, I'm getting so super bored. Principal just forced us to come to college. Sorry, sir. I know all the principals do that, they force. And then another friend writes back to you, don't worry, it's okay, it will just get over. Just a small sentence comes back, don't worry, it will just get over. You feel so good, it's going to get over. Who knows, I may go on for 1 hour. But at least you will live with that thought which has come through communication. See the value of communication, that's what's happening in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is not saying no, go. You're useless a man. Krishna is saying it's okay, compassion. Someone who's so confident has lost out. We have so many suicides happening in our country for the very reason that the students are not being listened to. They don't have any place to go to. People are disconnected. People who are earning a lot today have come down to thousands. They are in deep depression for the very reason because there's no one to communicate. So, this is something very important. Communication with another Atman. Your Atman and my Atman are identical, and that's what Bhagavad Gita says. That's a moral value. How can I practice equality? I can practice equality only when I see the non-difference. You and I are the same. So, this is something very, very important, and Gita gives us almost 26 qualities to maintain peace. You might say, where? Krishna is saying, go and wage a war. War is symbolic, friends. We are always in the state of inner war. External wars happen later on. It's the inner war that you and I battle with from morning to evening. And the first inner war that starts at early in the morning when you wake up. You put an alarm of 6 o'clock. It rings, then you put it off 6:30. It rings, then you put it on snooze again and make it 6:45. My students say, no, it's not 15 minutes, it's 2 minutes also, ma'am. What are you talking about? So that's the inner war. I don't know, I'm sure all of you face that, I face it. My alarm ring starts ringing from 4 o'clock. So sometimes when I'm very lazy till 8 o'clock I'm in the bed and I'm always watching my alarms and they're watching me, thinking enough of talking in the class, but what about you yourself? Sometimes you can take a rest. That's the way I give relief to myself. So this is something very important. How do we get peace? We get peace when we are not disturbed. If we wake up disturbed like that in the morning, I'm getting late, I'm rushing, I'm going to get scolding, and you have parents to scold you right in the morning. That disturbs our peace. So how do we maintain peace? Gita has a solution with 26 qualities, and I'm going to read it out for you. Very simple. Fearlessness, purity of mind, right procurement of knowledge and its use, study of good literature, self-discipline. Mr. Deepak just spoke about disciplining, uprightness, non-violence, truth, freedom from anger, willingness to give, not just keep taking. Like my friend said, what will I get back? Tranquility, aversion to fault finding. Every time we are finding faults. This is wrong, that is wrong, that is bad. I saw a gentleman in the plane yesterday. He calls the air attendant and says, this book is not placed properly. You know, there's a booklet in the airline. It was just placed upside down. So he calls the attendant to just make a note of it that it should be kept this way. And I just thought, there are so many good things to see here. He found the booklet upside down. Wow, this is like amazing. And I just thought, Geetish, you are so lost in your laptop. But just see, the fault finding becomes some habit. And air attendant was very calm and composed. She came and she just turned it upside down. You can understand how the system is dealing with people. So we have these kind of people, then gentleness, compassion, freedom from covetousness, absence of fickleness. Do I not? Should I eat or not? You keep a burger and keep on thinking, should I eat or not? No, eat it. But so you kept it, eat it. Enthusiasm, forgiveness, fortitude, tolerance, absence of excessive pride, and so on and so forth. You can read 26 on here. So, the basis of peace promotion efforts is the knowledge of oneness of human beings, but the practical work of peace promotion requires not only philosophical knowledge, but also other knowledge concerning the implementation of peace process. It is at this stage that Krishna advocates the constant concept of sthit pragya, stable intellect, stable mind. And that is something we get through meditative technique. I'm not saying go home and do meditation or start meditating, but some form of silence helps us to connect us with ourselves. And when we have this kind of connect, we are able to connect with others. And my students always ask me, if somebody's abusing me, what should I do? I should be silent. Yeah, just be silent for a while. Just be silent for a while. This is what my teacher would tell me. Just be silent, there you will get some kind of a response. Why and how you should deal with this person. That little silence of few seconds will help you connect with the other person in the right way. You may remove that person from your life, you may keep that person in your life, but that would be the right decision because it's based upon silence. So it's such a simple thing that Gita teaches. Why do you have to think it's a huge text, it's a difficult text? It's not. It's just about how you interpret it. So the idea of sthit pragya or stable intellect is meant to provide guidelines for all of us to do this conflict management in our lives. And I will now go straight to some later parts, leaving quite a lot of technical portions because I know you people are definitely getting bored with too much of Bhagavad Gita on you, but I would like to say that stable intellect is a very important one. Somewhere deep down at this phase of life, all of us feel a bit disturbed. People could not appear for exams, people could not go abroad for studies, they could not travel. There's so much of trouble that's going on. So Gita has a way out for how to establish a stable mind. And it says that first requisite is give up unnecessary desires. It doesn't say give up desires, unnecessary desires. Now I will not tell, and you can't tell me what are unnecessary desires for each other. We all know it. The second prerequisite is forbearance. That is, have the courage to stand against all odds, good, bad, better, worse. We have to face it with smile. Our problems will not be faced by our neighbor. We have to face it, and we all face it, crying, happily, joyfully. Let's just face it. And for that, you need endurance. The third is something that I should have the same kind of composure whether I'm feeling the pain or I'm feeling the pleasure. It's very difficult, but manageable in some way, even if in some degree. And the fourth is that the essential characteristic is self-control. And trust me friends, the first self-control that we can practice is through a cell phone. I'm addicted to my phone myself. I sometimes write down. Because of the digital stress, my doctor asked me, how many times do you touch your cell phone? I said no, because I never thought of counting it. He said, stop touching your cell phone, keep it away. So self-control doesn't mean that I go and work on big controls. Teeny controls are also self-controls, and a person with a steady mind knows when to withdraw, just the way tortoise withdraws its limbs. And this is written in Bhagavad Gita. We have to have that kind of wisdom to know when to withdraw from a wrong friendship, when to withdraw from a wrong neighbor, when to withdraw from wrong readings, when to withdraw from whatever in life. Nobody needs to teach us. We have to cultivate it. So this self-control is an essential thing and the most important thing that comes out through sthit pragya as explained in Bhagavad Gita. I have written a lot, but I'm not going to share all that because I know it's quite a long one. Now I would like to say here that sthit pragya is a heightened moral realization of an agent when the agent detaches himself or herself from the desire that creates the intensity of craving in the mind. Sounds very technical, but it's very easy. We have to find out where is the craving. And I want to give a very simple example for it. I want to eat a pizza, a thought comes in. Good enough? But if this thought is coming continuously, whether I'm talking to you or whether I'm walking outside, that means I've developed a craving for it. what is a craving. Now for that, in order to fulfill that craving, I will do anything. I will leave my lecture and say, friends, I need to eat pizza. And I walk out. So this is what I think Bhagavad Gita really says, work on self-control. Dhamma is very important. It's not Dhamma, that kind of control. Can we exercise this Dhamma on others? No, exercise. We need to exercise the Dhamma on us. So I come back to the starting point, leaving many paragraphs because I don't want it to be long, to the theme of today's session, that why Bhagavad Gita is a key source of moral value. It is because it treats each human being as a moral agent. You, I, and others are moral agents for the very fact that we have freedom. Freedom of will. That is the freedom to choose to be happy, contented and peaceful, as well as the freedom to choose to be happy, uncontented and undisturbed all through. It doesn't enforce anything. It is liberal in its approach. It asks us to reflect on thoughts, to seek the answers from within. By adopting the path of action for peace and for the world, and in turn, peace for oneself. Bhagavad Gita gives us a choice to choose peace. It does not give us peace. Let's remove the whole idea from our mind that by touching the book and by reading the book we will get peace. No, reading, if not done from the heart, will not give the peace. We have to choose and pick up the peace from there. I have a long prayer from Atharva Veda, but I'm not going to read it out because it's too long. But just to say that peace is a life skill. Peace is something that we carry with us. It's just that we cover it with a lot of troubles that are self-created. And an important moral value that comes out through Bhagavad Gita is that we need to remove these obstacles that we have created on our path to peace. We come to the world very peacefully. We die also very peacefully. But we live we always live in a lot of distress. And I would like to share with you, especially the young friends, stop writing when someone passes RIP. I think it's important that we don't say rest in peace. We now start using the word called live in peace. I shared this even in my last webinar here when Principal Sir invited me, and I'm sharing it again today. It's live in peace. Let's not make way for these rips that we have started through abbreviated emotions and expressions through WhatsApp. This has disturbed the peace. Learn to write sentences. Krishna spoke in sentences. Krishna did not write hi. Krishna did not say okay. Krishna spoke. Communication is what is an important entity that marks our existence, because this is what we are going to lose when people go out of this body. Let's make use of our communication. Write good text to your friends. Don't just say THX. Just say, oh, I'm extremely thankful to you for being there. Doesn't cost us much. And I conclude by reminding you that on 21st, it was not just the International Peace Day, it was even the Day of Gratitude. Gratitude is explained in Bhagavad Gita. It's a very important element. It's our duty to have gratitude. And I conclude today's session by having deep gratitude towards all the young minds here who somehow tolerated me in spite of I being very, very lengthy. But I had to speak because we all have been trained to speak. Who knows whether I'm seeing you again or you're going to see me. But I'm sure with little gratitude in my heart, I can have little expectation that at least carry 2 words from what I spoke, if nothing else. That would be the justice to the text, the great justice to the whole organizing team which has made an effort to invite us to organize all this. Gratitude for all of them, and gratitude to the admin staff, the singers, they sang so beautifully, and all the things that your college has given to both of us as the guest here. My heartfelt gratitude to you. Wish you all the best and keep in touch. Thank you.